Hey, hey! I sent you the link, Complex. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Womb Conversations. We'll be getting started any minute now. I have sent you the link already. Complex Design. So, oh, there you are. Okay. Ooh, look at that, Abby. Oh my God.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey. Welcome. Hold on just a second. Adjust the music volume. How is that? Sounds good to me. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Womb Conversations. I'm your girl, Reigning Woman, and tonight we are here with Complex Design, one of the primary members of the Black Brain Trust. So it's been a while since we have done Womb Conversations. Can you all hear me okay?
I can hear
Please.
you. You sound good.
I sound good? Okay, well, let me see if I sound good to everyone in the audience.
Yeah, I think you're okay.
Awesome sauce, thank you. So let me go over what Womb Conversations is all about. Thank you, Little Rock, for that confirmation. So the womb is the strongest, most flexible muscle of the female body and is connected to the universe. It is dynamic beyond its common acknowledgement and is multi purposeful. It is orgasmic. It is healing. It can grow a placenta. It can grow a human. So, womb conversations are interviews with men, particularly the black men, hosted by none other than me, Raymond Woman. These nurturing and empowering interviews are intended to have the interviewee, which tonight is complex design, experience full freedom of expression and for masculine and feminine energy. Now, complex design is no stranger to my channel or none whatsoever. He and I have shared many good times over here on my channel. We've had wonderful conversation, wonderful streams, and we've entertained my audience with both humor, intellect, music, and just chopping it up. Most of the time, impromptu. So I'm very honored to have him here tonight to do a personal interview, which is an extension of an interview that I did with the Black Brain Trust as a whole just a few short months ago, which I'll be dropping that link again also probably in the chat room or the comment section. So, complex design, welcome back, my friend.
Hey, thank you. That's like an impressive like intro. Gosh, feel all special.
Well, you most certainly are special.
Thank you.
So, I know that we have to get our girl off to cheerleader practice. So, are we good for like an hour and 15 minutes?
Yeah, we're good. Actually, she's like sleep. She's like laying at my feet sleep. So yeah, she's napping. Her practice starts at 5:30. That's why I wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to do 3 or 4, because they ended up rescheduling our eye exams. So
Oh, okay,
yeah, I mean,
cool.
no biggie. It was just I just was able to get back in time.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, first things first, talk to me about the name Complex Design.
Hmm. I think really, it just looks cool without vowels, right?
It does.
Because you can still read it.
Yes, it does. I guess I can.
Yeah, and I mean, it actually kind of well, we're actually complex. Humans are complex by design, right? So that's kind of what that is. It's just I don't know. It was just kind of like a simple idea that like humans are like when you look at you ever seen the Da Vinci sketch of I forgot what it's called where they show like the man he has his arms spread out and
Mm-hmm.
it's just like this image of like the anatomy of the human body or something and yeah it's a very like symmetrical math math-based illustration. So it gives it like an air of like, complexity and sophistication in terms of like human body. So, that's all it really is. And I just think it has if you put it like that with no vowels, it just kind of looks interesting. That's it. Yeah, that was all.
Okay, now you say that is all. Like you just said something so simple. But but that's exactly the kind of answer I would expect to get from a thinking black man and from someone from the Black Brain Trust.
Well, you gotta do something to stand out or like make a mark, something like people will kind of like recognize you or remember you by, some sort of marker or something. Um, so I don't know. I've always kind of been uh, introverted, but at the same time very kind of counterculture-ish in a lot of ways. So I had to kind of like find different vehicles or different avenues to kind of like express myself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I shall say, job well done with that. Let me get over to the chat room really quick and
Hmm.
speak to the chat. So we have, okay, so we definitely have COV in the place, aka my petty babe. And we have Uncle Williams Jr., Complex Design, of course, okay, you. And Little Rock, thank you. And CCA News 2019, again, thank you so much. CCA News is one of my new supporters, and he is over here on a regular. So I really appreciate that. You are like really showing up. Okay, so we're going to get a little more personal, right? And we're going to talk a little bit more about your activity with
Hmm.
Black Brain Trust.
Sure.
So, first, now, please tell me, how did you get involved with the Black Brain Trust?
Um, well, I mean, well, we were all kind of like contributors. We used to contribute on BGS's platform, right? Like there we would talk about things like cryptocurrencies and stuff on his hangouts, and it wasn't it wasn't like the type of discussion that the majority of his audience really had an interest in.
Mhm.
And so we basically just went and we kind of just split off and then did it on our own platforms. Like Anti Gravity and myself were business partners. So a lot of our YouTube activities initially kind of supported what it was that we were doing from a business standpoint. So that was the Business Wealth and Power channel. And then Mike and Lionel started the channel, which would become the Brain Trust, and that was Young Grizzly who gave the group the name. So it was like we were kind of like this group of people, and we just really kind of just merged. That's why we haven't really done anything on the Business Wealth Power channel, because it was like for what we were doing, it just made sense to kind of do it collectively on the Brain Trust. We're gonna do something different with Business Wealth Power. We're gonna do something more like business related. Like it'd be like intelligence reports and stuff like that. So, but yeah, with the Brain Trust, that's what it was. It was just Grizzly gave the collective the name, and Information Man, kind of made the graphic, the logo for us, and that's kind of really what it's been. But we've always just maintained like kind of like an open door policy.
Okay, and you guys have not done any videos on business wealth and power, and I think about a year, but you guys are going to get back to it.
Well, yeah, well, we're gonna do something different for that. So what we'll do is we'll do, like if you check out channels like Caspian Report, um, let me try, Money GPS. There's a few channels like that where they actually do kind of like Stratfor style reporting. And so what we want to do is we want to basically find like masters and PhD students in like various countries, and then have them basically just compile reports for us and present it. And we like pay them, and then we'll actually have reporting from people who are studying in these environments, giving us like real world on the ground data, which is to be used for any sort like business intelligence and stuff like that. So that's kind of where we were kind of thinking we wanted to shift that channel to do that kind of stuff.
Okay, got it. I am dropping the links for all of those channels, by the way, right now as we speak, including your personal channel that you are very modest about. He's like, oh, I don't really do anything on my channel. He's into gardening. He's into the videos with his daughter from time to time about her growth and her being behind the wheel. But I'm not going to talk anymore about that. So
Hmm.
I'll let him talk about that. So now you have been happily married,
Yes,
and you are now you're now widow.
yes,
You're and you are a single father
yes,
raising a beautiful, amazing daughter.
yes.
So and we know that there is a lot of talk around the Black YouTube sector, and especially around the Negro manosphere about relationships and um, the black man's fault is this, the black woman's fault is this,
Hmm.
and burn it down, rebuild it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all and all of these things. But can you please share with our audience your journey in going from a single man, a bachelor, your process that you had to go through with different women, how they could relate to you or didn't relate to you, and then finding and being in the right place to find and accept
Hmm.
being not just in a monogamous relationship, but married to someone who I think was right under your nose, married to an
Yeah.
American black woman and being happily married.
Okay. Um. Well. Um. You, you know, I think I had a. I'm. Well, first and foremost, for those that don't know, I'm in like my early 40s, so sometimes maybe I give off the impression I might be younger than I actually am. But I grew up during a time where, in high school, me and my friends, this is like the mid 90s. No, we were very intentional about the future and what we wanted to do. A lot of my friends now have gone on to do very great things and continue to do those things today. And I hope to leave my mark at some point here before it's all said and done. Right? Like I haven't really forgot about what the ultimate goal here is, but I didn't want to like derail any of that. Right? For as much as we try to like avoid certain pitfalls and certain things in life. We prepare as best as we can. That's right. That's the one thing you can do that's in your power. And so, like during my 20s, I didn't do relationships. I didn't do relationships with women. I was like a late boomer first and foremost, right? I always had girls. I'd have girls crush on me in high school and stuff like that. But I was like, I don't know what it was. It wasn't until I got out of high school where I really started to like notice females. Like it was literally like right when I got out. I think I was just so focused on like being like one of the top students, and I would always rationalize things in my head, like, oh, you know what? It's time for women. It'll be time for girls later. Time for girls later. And then in my 20s, it became a thing where it was just kind of like the whole friends with benefits thing, like um, because I was trying to do things, and I didn't want like other things getting in the way. So I would be up front, and usually things kind of they start that way, and then feelings start to develop, and then. So during that time, what I learned was that ultimately, the whole friends with benefits thing kind of like there's like a cycle to it. You know what I mean? And there's nothing long term out, yeah, coming out of it. But as I came to that realization, this is right around the time when my first primary business, which is in the music industry, started to like take off. So that was right around the time where I ended up meeting who would become my wife. Um, I met her, and I was in California. She's from Chicago, and she was just out in California visiting her aunt. And so um, we we basically maintained a friendship. We maintained a friendship um, from the time we met to the time we got together, and then in between there, she had her experience with a relationship that basically mirrored what I went through. The person cheating on you and just kind of putting you through the ringer. You know,
Uh-huh.
So it's like one of the it's weird because it's one of those experiences where someone's typically gonna take that and then just say, you know what, all women ain't shit, right? And then the woman would literally go through the same thing, and then be like, all n words ain't yes, right? I'm trying to like watch my mouth. She's right here.
Right.
I gotta remember she's right here. Um, but then at the same time, we look at each other, and we had developed like this, just like a deep friendship. And we look at each other, and we're wondering like, why would somebody do that to a person like you? You know? And I'm wondering that about her. She's wondering that about me. And so,
Hmm.
yeah. And so, what I found is that there's so much. And you know me, Reigning Woman. I don't talk about like relationships on YouTube like that. I really don't. If it's
Right.
something that relates to like um a social political discussion like we have on the Brain Trust, where we talk about like interpersonal dynamics and how it affects like you know the economics of like our demographic or something, right? um Educational opportunities and stuff. Okay, I'll look at it from that standpoint, but not from the standpoint of what what like bad stuff that women have put me through. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I don't do that because yeah, because it's like what I know is that synergy and compatibility are what's important at the end of the day. I don't see all this other stuff. This is all like new. Like YouTube creates a lot of stuff, right? Like this select, non-select, octane. Uh, um, what's the other terms that they come up with on YouTube? All this stuff is made up, right? It's all made up. It's not real. None of it. We're like, okay, it's like humans. He, it's just like it everything kind of it's all real life. And I think what happens is that we've gotten so accustomed to living and getting our input through social media, as opposed to really understanding like how we interact with people like face to face,
Hmm.
right? People do way more conversing on YouTube than they do in real life with people that they see face to face. you know
Right.
you know what I mean? So it's like, I think the other thing too is like there's a large disconnect. So you develop like a really good friendship with somebody. I think it was Alan Roger Curry. I think he said this. He was like, he said like the basis of a good relationship is is a good friendship and a healthy lust for one another,
Hmm.
right? And that kind of sums it up.
Yeah. Yeah. I would definitely agree with that. I'm not familiar with all of ARC's message and his
Mhm.
modes, so I haven't heard that, but that definitely makes sense. I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about, or shall I say, talk to us about the friendship, because you would have so many people, especially in today's society, to
Hmm.
say that men and women cannot be friends. And here you were friends with your, what will become your wife for
Hmm.
what, a few years at least, and even and hooking up never even was a thought, right? So first, before you talk about that though,
Hmm.
did you have other friendships with females that you were not sexually engaged with or romantically engaged with, where it was strictly friends at
Yeah.
the same time of your, what would be your wife?
Um. I mean, not not really. I mean,
Mhm,
well, let's see. Like, okay, like there's women who have been friends of mine, right? Like I'm talking like there's women that I grew up with and we're
mhm.
friends to this day. Okay, so it's like they're still friends, but at the same time, my wife and I we were kind of like private people,
Mm-hmm.
so we kind of kept to ourselves. We didn't post, we didn't put stuff on Facebook or on social media. We weren't like that. We were the type of people that would have like public access TV playing in the background, you know,
Yeah.
watching like Rick Stevens' travel guide. You know what I mean? Like just stuff like that. We were kind of like we were like really often like just on our own thing. But that's what I mean by compatibility and synergy, where it's more like, you know, you just you feel you feel comfortable around the other person being you, and that person feels comfortable being them around you. You know,
Got
and
it.
yeah, and because you guys enjoy similar things and all that, it just there's an alignment that happens. Um, but that's you're talking about like just more like the subtle dynamics of relationships at that point, and we're far removed from that. We're like I don't know, we're somewhere else entirely.
But there were other friendships with the opposite sex that you and so talk to me or talk to us. I keep saying talk to me. Talk to us about the ability for a man and a female to be friends and not friends with benefits, but to just be friends.
Hmm.
And in this, even in this modern day society that we have, from your perspective,
Okay. Um.
and the benefits and or the disadvantages.
Well, I don't see. Here's the thing, right? Like, there's we're all humans, so it's not meant for us to screw everybody we know.
Oh, say that again, please. Wait,
I
wait,
said,
wait.
I said,
Please.
I said, I don't think it is meant for us to screw everybody we meet. This is the reason why when someone says, "Well, men and women can't be friends," and it's like, why the hell not? Do you really think that you're supposed to be going around having sex with every woman you meet? Some will ultimately have to fall into the friend category, acquaintance category, associate category, something. You know, why would you have a desire to think that every woman that you meet is a woman that you might potentially bed?
Hmm.
Like that's kind of I don't know. It's kind of like well, you know, not to get all metaphysical and stuff, right? But see, you know, we
This is
all
about, this is about your thoughts and you being fully expressed. So go ahead, honey.
okay.
This
Well,
is your interview.
well, we all sort of resonate from a chakra, a chakra center in our, you know, in our energy field, right?
Hmm.
And you know, when people are primarily kind of like sex based, you know, kind of driven by like limbic impulses, you know, that's just kind of more of a lower vibratory state that you exist in when everything is, you know, um, based on like kind of arousal um, of a carnal nature, and s- there's a spiritual growth process that kind of moves us up the chain. You know, when you start to really kind of um, delve deep into kind of improving yourself from a psycho spiritual standpoint, you start to like view things differently, and then you won't think things like that.
Hmm.
that a man and a woman couldn't like be like fine acquaintances or friends or something like that. There's plenty of women I've been friends with. I never thought about having sex with them. You know, like, and when I was with my wife, the thing about it was is that you know I didn't look at that's the thing. There was too much there that worked for me to think about other women like that. It wasn't me even having the thought of entertaining the idea of somebody else, right, would run
Mhm.
counter to everything that we had going for ourselves. We there were things that we wanted to do, so I wasn't trying to jeopardize it, neither was she. And we had no desire to. Sometimes you go your entire life trying to meet the right person. You need to be able to recognize when you've met the right person.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, why would you screw it up? Why'd you do something stupid? Why like if you met the right person, why would you think, well, I'm a man, so and it's in my nature to go and spread my seed. Dude, no, it's not. It's in your nature to be productive. Now that's open to interpretation, but don't think that your sole role just because you have a penis is that you're just supposed to spread seed everywhere. That's a very pedestrian way of looking at your life. You
Yeah.
know, yeah. So it's really just perspective. But the perspective of the majority of people nowadays has men and women at odds. So
So, what would be your advice to someone, a younger version of yourself in your 20s? What would you advise to a young man now that would putting his career and everything first and
mhm.
not thinking about women at all, or should he think about women at all?
No, I would tell my younger self to do it exactly the way I did it. Like, I'm not even gonna lie.
Okay.
I wouldn't change
Okay.
how I did it because it worked for me.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Because it
worked for
worked
me.
for you.
Yeah, it was kind of like I said, I did stuff early on in life. I took like big risks early on, and they
Hmm.
had they had major repercussions. But what happened was is that it ultimately worked out in my favor, and so I got into sort of like trusting like my own abilities and my intuition, right? Even if times seemed like uh, this wasn't the right decision, is that you have to kind of see it through. You have to make a plan and say, look, challenges occur, but they're meant to be conquered. So, if you really want something, then you'll figure out a solution to the problem, you know. And so that's kind of what I did. Like I dropped out of college, you know, at 17, I dropped out. And, my dad was just like, he's ready to disown me. And but a couple of years later, I had a six-figure business.
Wait a
So
minute. Say what?
I said a couple of years later, I had a business making six figures.
You dropped
So
out of college at 17.
yeah, well, I
You dropped.
technically, yeah, I went, and then I just said, screw this. I left. I just bounced. I went back. I got accepted to go to school in Central California, and then I was there for like 2 months, and I just said, I'm out of here. And I went back to LA. And because the first thing that made sense in my mind was like, I can make more money if I have a business than I could working for somebody. So whatever I'm gonna do right now at college is just gonna prepare me to make less money than I could if I had a business. What the hell's stopping me from like having my own business right now?
Oh my
Nothing.
God. Love it.
Yeah. So I just became an entrepreneur. And then I did stints of college in between that. But
Huh?
I never like finished. I'm probably like a sophomore right now. Like if I were to go back, that's how many credits I have.
Wow, I am really glad that you shared that part of information with us, because that really could be encouraging to someone else to, to just go ahead and follow their own path. You never know what's gonna become of it, but you never know what's not gonna become of it either. If you don't, if it's in you, if it's just in you to just try, why
Yeah.
fight that feeling?
Well, because we have a fear of failure, right? And what happens is that we're because now saying that a white person won't let you do something is a far more convenient excuse for not doing something rather than just doing the shit. Um, so it's very easy to be in a very sort of black pill kind of nihilist view, and because of that, you just don't think that it's worth your time or effort to do anything. So most people don't have like motivation to take on to take on something that may challenge them. Like just to do it.
Now, you said your father was disappointed, right?
He was.
How
He
did you
like
deal with that? What was his reaction, and then how did you deal with his reaction without destroying the relationship, or what kind of impact did it have on her relationship?
well, I mean, here's the thing, right? You got to bet on yourself. Okay? And the thing about it is that at the end of the day, if I made a shit ton of money, what would he care? Isn't that the whole point, right? To be a success in whatever facet, but to do something, to produce something that will produce financial gains for you, that you can
Mm-hmm.
leverage for other opportunities, whatever that is. Like we don't look, people will give you all kinds of like career advice and all this type of stuff. But if it does, if their advice doesn't work out, are they gonna like hold the bag for you? You took out student loans because somebody
Right.
told you, oh yeah, you know what, you should go get a graphic design degree, and you go get a 4-year degree in graphic design. You find there's no work for you. Is that person gonna then take responsibility for giving you bad advice? You know. So I always knew at the end of the day, it's kind of like, all right, well, I'm gonna have to be responsible for anything that happens in my life at the end of the day. So it's like, okay, if my dad got mad, then it's like, all right, well, we'll circle back in a few years. You know,
I like
we'll
that.
see.
Something
Yeah.
that you said that I agree with is about being responsible for our own lives, being
Hmm.
responsible for our own decisions, our own choices, realizing that at the end of the day, we are the ones that have to give an account for the choices that we made. And whatever consequence or rewards come with them, and no matter what advice or lack of advice, at the end of the day, it still boils down to the choices that we make with our lives.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you can, like I said, you can. It's blaming white folks is it's to me it's convenient. I've had because and this is like not a race thing, but it's a perception thing. Because I've had a lot of white folks help me in life, and it wasn't because they stood to benefit. It was just because they were genuinely nice people. You know, so um, it's if you want to do something bad enough, you'll find a way to do it. That's really what this all boils down to. Um, and yeah, yeah, you know, yeah.
Awesome. So, apparently, to me, it seems that relations, parental relationship important to you as well. Am I correct?
Wait, say that again. You kind of cut out there a little bit.
That's okay. Are parental relationships important to you?
Parental relationships? You mean like my relationship like with my daughter, for example?
Yes, and with your own parents.
Oh yeah, totally. Um, I mean, I don't. You hear so much about like the talk about like single parenthood, right? And it's um, I'm a single parent not by choice, right? So, but nonetheless, I know how hard it is. Um, and especially from the position of someone who, again, is single and not by choice, right? If it was up to me,
Right.
Rosetta would still be here. We would be parenting her together. We'd probably have another child because we wanted to.
I'm sure from the way you talk about Rosetta, I am sure there'd be probably a complex junior.
No, that was what she wanted, but in my mind, I seem like to not have the capability to produce a male. It's going to be a female if I have a child. So we knew Almeida was going to be a female. We knew it like beforehand. She wasn't a surprise to me, but we were going to try because she wanted a boy. But you know what? Now, like, yeah, it would be cool to have a son to train him up. Just groom him as a race car driver.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as like parentage goes, yeah, no, absolutely. Almeida's a special child. She's very intuitive. I can't hide much from her, right? Like just her looking at me, she can kind of just pick me. It's really weird. It's almost as if I've got her mom here in the form of a 7-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very strange. So, but I love her dearly. That's why she's always around me.
So, talk to us about you being in the music industry.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of like some stuff I did.
Come on, let's talk about it. Come on. Come on out the box, you snob.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was doing music. I was so
Hold on a second. Excuse me, everyone. I'm definitely going around and I'm not insulting none whatsoever. I am goofing off with my guests because unfortunately, but fortunately, they have been accused of being snobs over at the Black Brain Trust. I'm
yes, we have.
being very sarcastic and playful with my guests because I by no means think of him as a snob.
Yes, we have been called snobs. We've been called a lot of things.
The
Maybe
music
maybe
industry.
some of those
Okay.
things are true, but not all of them.
So the music
Music,
industry.
the music. All right. Well, so yeah, I took up when I found that I wasn't gonna be like my brothers. Like my brothers are all like 6'3", 6'4", and all that, and I'm just this 5'10" dude. And so it was like, all right, well, sports is, I was pretty practical. So 10th grade, I was just like, you know what, man, I ain't gonna be no pro athlete. So I took up what I really loved was DJing, like hip hop stuff, like DJing. So I took that up, and I graduated high school, and then that was when the college thing happened. I left Southern California, and then it was just like, man, I had some other I had some other ideas about what I wanted to do, and
Uh-huh.
college just wasn't it. And so I began record collecting, um, and then I started record dealing. As I started collecting and stuff, I meet other dealers, and then some of the stuff that I would be looking for, these guys would be like, "Wow, dude, like I haven't seen that record in years. Like, you know about that?" And I would tell them like, "Yeah, I have two of them. I'm looking for another one," right? And so we start trading and stuff, and then I really kind of just learned the business. I learned how to be a dealer, just really just by just doing it in the streets, right? And so I ended up then starting one of the first like
Did
independent. Hmm?
Dylan Records?
Yeah, yeah, vinyl records. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and then so I ended up starting one of the for I it was like so there was my website. There was a site called Hip Hop Site. There was another one called undergroundhiphop.com. There's maybe like three, four other sites, and this was maybe back in like 1999, 2000 maybe.
Uh-huh.
And so we were like the first like websites to sell independent hip hop music. And so I mean imagine, back then you're only one of like five sites to do it. So that was where like the business came in, right? First,
Mm-hmm.
where I started making like a nice little chunk of money because this was like during like Web 1.0 during that time. And then from there it grew into a distribution. So then I started an independent distribution company because then I was in LA. All my friends started like kind of moving up into moving up in the game in terms of music. And then so I started distributing their stuff. And then from there we did like a few video projects. One of which you might be able to find it on YouTube. I haven't searched for it in years. But they were like some underground dance documentaries called Respond to Sound. And there's two volumes of it. So they might be on YouTube. I have no idea. Just kind of
Sounds
like
the sound.
Respond to Sound. Yeah, they might. It's done by my good friend. This is my brother. Like we grew up together. My brother Adrian Young. He's the same dude who's done the scoring for the Luke Cage Marvel series that was on Netflix.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, real extremely talented brother. Um, you can look him up on YouTube. There's a lot of press on him, a lot of interviews and stuff too. But um, yeah, so there's a couple of documentary projects we worked on. Well, one was released. The volume two never got released because we couldn't clear it. There was too much music that had to be cleared. We couldn't clear it. So it may just be out there. It may be up on YouTube. I don't know. And then from there, Black Dynamite. For anybody who saw that movie, that was my buddies Scott Sanders, there's Michael Jai White, and Byron Mims, and I was Michael Jai White's tech guy. So in the production room, I was his Mac technician, and my buddy Adrian did the editing and the soundtrack for the film. And it ended up picking up Backlund by Ars Nova and another company, I can't remember who, and then it was released. So if anybody's ever seen the movie Black Dynamite, yeah, that was my buddies and I and all of us. It was a fun time. It was really cool. Um, and then and then there was like then I had my label, um, Artisan Rep Digimedia, and that was like yeah, that's me and my buddy Kevin. He's like my little brother, and that's like music. I have basically that entire catalog on my channel. I think I put probably like about 90% of it up. There's a couple other things. The files are on another computer, but I pretty much put up the majority of our catalog on my channel, so you guys can check it out. It's kind of like just like electronic. I wouldn't say it's like 100% hip hop. is 100% like, you know, alternative, or it's pretty much just like electronic, but it's hip hop based. So there's like there's lyricism in it. A lot of it is instrumental. Uh, it's just a lot of experimental type music and stuff. So, people hear it now and they think it's new. And I'm like, man, that stuff's like 10 years old. It's old. Uh, but it's old to me because, I remember making it. I remember us being in the studio and stuff. Matter of fact, I think I even have a video on my channel of a DJ session that we did at our old studio back in like 2008 or something, 2008 or 2009. So all that stuff's on my channel, man. Just kind of browse through it if you're so inclined to do so.
See why you should not be, well, I'm not going to say you should be so modest
What?
about your channel. It's like
It's
your
because
channel
it's
is
I don't
not
know.
small. Like,
No,
no.
look, I don't my channel. I don't do like whatever what like everybody. I put up stuff like that. Like I'll find like an old video, maybe like some old footage or something. Oh, dude, I forgot I had this, and I'll just put it up there, and it's like an old DJ session. I think I have another one. I don't know. I gotta find it and upload it. It's like another one from maybe like 10 or 11 years ago. So,
What I'm trying to say to you, what I'm trying to tell you, Complex, is that there is so much to you and to men like you. There are so many layers. And while we'll never really probably see all the layers, it's really nice um, for your audience and the audience to see just a little bit more of who you are besides behind the curtain, shall we say, behind the curtains of you. And I like it.
thank
And
you.
I'm sure that I will not be the only one. It's like there's so much more to you besides a brain. There's so much personality that is here. And it shows, in your history. It shows in your conversation when you're talking about your history with Rosetta. The
Hmm.
way your face lights up when you talk about her, the way your face lights up when you talk about Almeda. Um, the vibrations, the frequency that comes through when
Hmm.
you're sharing your garden. So
Yeah.
I know that you probably don't see it or feel it because it's you, right?
Hmm.
So allow me to share that there's so much value in your layers.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, no, I appreciate that. Because I get charged with the whole snob thing or arrogant thing, and and there's a perception that people have of me on YouTube, and I shrug my shoulders because of what you just said. There's like way more to me, and that's why like on my channel I don't make videos talking about like you black YouTube stuff, right? I'll show you my garden, or like if I see
Right.
some birds, I'll just like, oh, look at these birds, like these birds are cool, you
Exactly.
know.
And that's cool too because it's like complex. We know we know all too well how easy it is to do what everyone else does. It's so overrated.
Hmm. You know, um, I just that's the other thing too. Uh, I don't understand like because there's a lot to be said about men who I guess again by like black YouTube standards would be classified as like a lame or something, right? Or a select or a
Mhm.
non-select. or this or that. And I don't know. I kind of let people decide. Well, here's the thing, right? Like, I don't really subscribe to it to begin with, but I just think there's some value in being able to learn something from somebody,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to like see how like they know a whole bunch about it. It's like, damn, you know a lot about that. That's cool, man. I want to like know what you know. So, and like the more you kind of like show of yourself, and I don't mean just like
Yeah.
prima facie, but like no, seriously, like your passions or your interests, like you know what I mean. Then you'll get more from that person. So yeah, that's all it is. I don't know. But the brain trust stuff is, I take it seriously. You know what I mean? Like that's a platform where a lot of what's discussed is of a serious tone and a serious nature. So I'm very no nonsense. Uh,
Yeah,
when it
you are. Yeah,
huh?
y'all are.
you know, but that's it's apropos for that venue. That's a venue where you're supposed to be you're supposed to be like conducting yourself as a man. So there's a time to joke, or if humor finds its way into something and it's appropriate for the discussion, then there's humor to be had and we'll enjoy a chuckle, right? But then there's the next order of business.
Our favorite comedian just entered the chat room.
Oh, you know, um, but yeah. No, I'm a chill dude. I'm a chill dude.
So, so talk to us about this six-figure income business that you had that you developed. You dropped out of college.
Oh,
I definitely want to hear that.
well, no, that was just record dealing. It was record
That,
dealing, and hmm,
that was the record dealing.
yeah, it was record dealing and distribution and all that. That was at a time when everything was still being pressed up on a physical format, like a CD or a DVD or vinyl or something like that. Now I had some ideas for doing um, like a file sharing service, similar to what would have been like become an iTunes.
Uh-huh.
This was like around like 2005, right around when Steve Jobs had just first announced the iPod, because the iPod is what basically is what killed the music industry to a large extent. Because once consumers didn't have once they didn't have a need to have to buy their music on a physical format anymore, it was over. They wouldn't do it, you know. And so that's what fundamentally kind of changed the music scene as you know it. So when I was doing music distribution and all that type of stuff, I was also kind of like a techno geek too. Like I was a Mac junkie and building computers and all that. So I kind of saw it's kind of like no different than what we do in the brain trust now. We kind of forecast based on current trends, right? So I'm looking at the music scene at that time. I'm just like, man, everything's about to change. I think I really need to pivot. And that was like around the time where I don't want to get too into the personal side of it all, but my brother and I basically, as business partners, split, and the business was lost. Put it like that. So, but no, that's how that came about. It just kind of happened like that. You know, yeah,
Now
it
you
was
just said something that was a nugget that I would like you to expound on, and that is you recognized that there was about to be a shift with the
hmm
music, the way
yeah,
music was going, and you needed to make that change, right?
yep.
So, can you elaborate as a business person? about the importance of being able to recognize when you must shift and a way to recognize when, as an entrepreneur or a business person, you must shift.
Okay. Um, well, it's know as much about your market as you possibly can, and know what influences it. Like know what changes the what changes it, right? So if you know you know on Monday, you know this particular supply that you purchase is now 10% more in terms of its cost. You want to know all of the reasons why. Okay, so knowing things to that degree and to that extent, it enables you to then forecast things, because you kind of see more of like the moving picture, right? You see more of the pixels involved. You get the finer details. So I would say that knowing your industry is what gives you the ability to be able to project and forecast. So like so like when you hear Mike or read an article about something, and then what'll happen is that then we'll have like some dialogue after the article, and then what we'll start
Mhm.
doing is we'll start bringing up things that may have happened 6 months ago, a previous article that we covered, and then we start connecting dots, right? And then when
Mhm.
you start connecting those dots, you start to get a picture. You go, huh? Okay, so based on this, this is there's either possibility A, B, or C, and then from A, B, and C, you determine the likelihood of A, the likelihood of B, and the likelihood of C, and then you prioritize them, and then you say most likely, likely, least likely, and then what you do is you can then create a contingency for each one of those. You create a plan for each one, how to leverage each one, so that
Mhm.
you don't you don't you don't lose out on your projections. This is where like what Dollar Will talks about, like I think he's a technicals person. I think that's where fundamentals. I can't ever remember which one Dollar Will is, but he talks about it a lot in terms of analyzing the markets right over a long term period. Lionel talks about it. Lionel and I were just on the phone yesterday. I think we're gonna. Well, I'm gonna start doing some investment stuff to similar in a similar fashion that he's doing it in terms of how his portfolio is set up. Um, but I'm picking him. Yesterday I was on the phone picking his brain. You know,
Wow.
no, yeah, yeah, seriously. I mean, I was on the phone with him yesterday. Hmm?
No, I was
What was that?
saying, yeah, like you're picking line. Out right. So one of the juniors of the group. Like he's younger, right?
Lionel?
And
Yeah, yeah. Lionel's
yes,
younger. He's younger than me. Yeah.
yet you see the ability of learning something from him rather than trying to downplay his knowledge because he is younger. Speak to that.
I could do more than speak to it. So for anybody who knows anti-gravity 74, he's one of these dudes who's just around. He's randomly around. He may actually even be lurking right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he popped up in the chat and said something literally right now. But he's my business partner. We co-own a trade group. So just for reference, I think anti-gravity, I think he's 23. I want to say he's 23 years old. So I'm like almost like a I'm almost like a full 20 years older than him. But that's my business partner. He's the one with the economics degree, not me.
That is what um, being. That's one of the things that I like, among many things that I like about the Black Brain Trust, about you guys over there, is that you guys really more or less uplift and encourage and support each other versus looking for ways to try to outshine each other. And that, in my opinion, is something that we need to see more of in our society and among our people.
Hmm.
So I thank you for even elaborating on that. Now you have some hobbies everyone may not be aware of. So talk to us about complex design hobbies.
Hobbies. Um, uh, it's just really it's all about uh uh doing. You see that picture right there? Pretty much that's it. Yeah,
The race
I'm a
cars?
speed junk. Yeah, yeah. So I race karts. If I can get into a real car, I'll race that. Pretty much, yeah, just racing. It's become a thing. Well, it was always a thing as a kid. Um, I used to just I was into remote control cars. I used to build those, race those, and then like my dad would buy me like mini bike frames and stuff. I'd go to junkyard, get them like 10, $15, and I'd get them running. Build running mini bike or go kart and stuff like that. And then he used to take me to the track, and I used to drive and race when I was a kid. And then that kind of stopped when my parents got divorced and all that kind of stuff. And so, but I'd always been into motorsports, like in just cars and all that. So it was always a thing where in the back of my mind it was like, all right, I'm gonna get some businesses going, get filthy rich, and then I'm gonna get a big truck, a big trailer, and a fast race car, and that's what I'm gonna do with my time. Um, but when I got back to California after Rosetta passed, you know, um, I needed something to kind of help me with the grieving process. And so
Mm-hmm.
I just basically just said, you know what, screw it, man. I'm just gonna go racing. And I didn't even. It was weird. It was kind of one of those things where people would typically just kind of be apprehensive to do it, and I just like
Uh-huh.
went bought. I bought a car. I just bought the stuff and then just did it. And I go out to the track, started racing. I failed. Every race, heat race, my chain was coming off, and just. But
Wait,
what I did was,
your own car?
huh?
Did you put together your own car?
Yeah, all the carts that I run, I build them. I build them. I tune them. Matter of fact, I was on the phone earlier today. One of the guys that I'm a mechanic for. So I do I do the setup on them. I pretty much do pretty much everything on those things. But it was because what I wanted to do was I wanted to have my own race team. And if you have like just like a ton of money sitting around, then you can have that easily. I know a couple of guys who, because they make a ton of money doing other things, like it's nothing for them to just throw 50 grand, in an entire year to run his son's karting program. For somebody like me, I was like, all right, I need to make a business out of it. So
Uh-huh.
that was what I did. So my first year in it, like I said, I just got put through the ringer. I didn't. I just kind of went out there and kind of thrown myself to the wolves. But it was like, all right, every time, if like whatever failure I encounter, I'm going to learn why I failed. And so it
Uh-huh.
quickly became like a process of elimination. Okay, once I did this failure, it was like, okay, that's never happening again. And then once this happened, that's never going to happen again. And then when the following year rolled around, um, I kind of figured out like some things to sort of improve the business side of it, and I got newer equipment, and I learned more about like how to fine tune and set up the newer equipment that I had. And then I started seeing results. Um, and so yeah, it just became a thing. And then I had like just like life changes and stuff, right? That relocate and all that.
Yeah.
So 2018 and 2019, I kind of set it aside. But now that I'm settled in where I'm at now, because I relocated to a different area for work, and so now that I'm settled in and working, and I actually just found a shop, so I'm probably gonna like you know sign the papers on it maybe at the end of this week, and I'm gonna just basically restart my motorsport operation. Um, but yeah, it was just one of those things where uh, I really wanted to do it. It's like my thing is that like ultimately I would like to have like Porsche, GT3s, right? 911s. You hear us talking about these cars all the time.
Yes,
With the car
I
talks. Yeah, but I would like to put the real thing out there on the track and run them in some club series or events or something like that. In addition to the carts. So that's really like my larger goal with a lot of this stuff is to sort of have like a motorsport entity, and then there's like ancillary businesses that do certain things that are related to it. That are related to like a lot of the technological stuff, like um, software development, um, 3D printing and manufacturing, all that kind of stuff. I plan to put a 3D printer in the shop that I'm going to be setting up here. So, and I was just talking to with Mike on the phone with this a little bit earlier today about some of how I'm going to involve doing this. I'm going to be creating content for the Brain Trust by doing this. So that's I'm kind of giving you guys a preview of what I'm looking to do here for 2020,
yay.
similar to like what Lionel's doing with. Hmm?
I just said
What was that?
yay.
Oh,
I
yeah,
just
similar to what Lionel.
said
Oh, it's similar to what Lionel's doing with the Full with Money channel. It's
yes.
similar to that, right? It's gonna be kind of like a sister channel. So it's like a branch of the Brain Trust channel, right? Specifically related to a subject matter that or area of expertise. So that's where that's gonna go, and it's just gonna be kind of like another feature of the Brain Trust.
I love it. I love it. So now, well, it is 6:12 my time, which is 4:12 your time. Are we still good or
Hmm.
do we need to wrap things up?
Oh, we're good. She's still asleep, and she
Okay.
doesn't have to be, yeah, she doesn't have to be at practice till like 5:30 my time.
Okay. Look, I want to be sure that I don't interfere with nothing with Almeida's schedule because I want her to continue to thrive and be all the best that she can be. So now I want to ask you about the challenges of
Hmm.
being a grieving husband and a grieving father and
Hmm.
having to be there, having to maintain everything with Almeida while also grieving.
Wow. Um. Hmm. That's a good question. I think because she was so young, she was 3, and I was really, it was one of those things where I was so worried about her. I still am. Like that's one of like my one of like I don't fear too many things in life, right? But the of the few fears that I do have, one is that you know that my daughter will you know will kind of maybe have some sort of social anxiety issue from this, or something. And that's the kind of stuff it's always kept me up at night. Still does. I know that's why I don't really sleep much. you know and I'm trying to
Mhm.
like change those habits. I'm trying to change that type of thing, like where um you go through that whole process, and things change. Your sleeping habits change, and you just it's hard to get back to like a sense of normalcy. Things are never the same, right? So
Right.
what you have to do, and I think this is where maybe kind of to answer your question. Um, so for her, I was I'm that's why I keep around her. I keep her around me all the time. Like she's always around me. She always wants to be around me. So I watch her like a hawk. Um, but what I've learned, I think up to this point, is that I've had to like reinvent myself, right? Because I was there was a life that I had, and so there was a Ulysses, right? That was at that time, right? And so then some stuff happened, and so I had to kind of reformulate the type of person I need to be for what my life calls for now.
Uh-huh.
You know, so that's part of that's where part of the racing thing came in, because you can't pursue that type of stuff and be scared, right? And you can't pursue that kind of stuff with without being confident and think that you're going to produce results. You know what I mean? So kind of throwing myself to the fire kind of forced me to make some fundamental changes about myself. You know, so that was part of the grieving process, was I actually sort of reinventing myself in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so in January, coming up this January, it'll be 5 years. So
Mm.
yeah, um, so I would say at this stage, I'm kind of anchored in sort of where I'm going now. And so now it's kind of like I still kind of like I still need to figure things out, but I've committed. I've kind of made some commitments to, as far as like who and what I want to be going forward. So it's all a work in progress. I mean, it's like it's like anything else in life. We always, in order to kind of achieve something great or to see desired results, we have to be willing to allow difficulties in life to mold and shape us.
Yeah. How do you or how did you hold it together for her in your reinventing? How did you hold it together for her? Because Rosetta and you were very close,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And I can remember vividly, as if we just talked yesterday, some of the stories that you have shared with me about Rosetta.
Hmm.
What was the key thing that you used to lean on so that you wouldn't fall apart for Almir, in
Oh,
front of Almir?
oh my God. You know, uh, I really think about it. It was purely well, I don't want to say purely. It was largely a mental thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had I think growing up, like what I used to do is I used to do this, and I wasn't really sure why I used to do this, but I would like kind of do things to sort of pose mental challenges to myself, to kind of always see what my threshold was, you know, um, and you kind of take the sort of position I take in life. You don't really believe, or you really don't like to think there's too many boundaries, right? Like, if you believe in sort of like the unlimited potential of the human, then you kind of view yourself in that schism, and you say, well, what's my limits, you know, and um, I don't. I just literally internalized a good majority of it. I internalized it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was just internalized because she couldn't see that. Almeida couldn't see it. There's been times where there was those times where she would walk in, and then there's a couple of tears or whatever, and but short of that, it was like I just kind of made everything about her. Like after we got back to California, it was like, got a place we settled into, and I decked out her room because I wanted her to have like, I was more focused on her. Like with me, I was
Mhm.
like, I'll figure it out, right? We'll figure it out with me. I'll get over it, you know, in due time. I'll get over it, right? Like that was my approach, but it was largely me just making sure that she was good. I wanted her to have a lot of things, and I wanted her to do things that I wasn't quite able to do like early on for her because I had to care for her and her mother. You know,
Mhm.
so I made sure, well, I make sure that Almeida's always like experiencing things, right? That's going to just make her a well-rounded person. So I just really just kind of just turned my attention to her, and I let the pursuit of racing sort of take care of the grieving, or I put the grieving into that so that I could
Yeah.
focus on her. Yeah.
Thank you. So you are
Wait,
a family type of
wait,
man.
you broke up there a little bit. Can you repeat that?
Yes, I said you are a family type man, right?
Wait,
Uh-oh.
did you ask me if I'm a family type of man?
Yes.
Are you asking me if I'm that now? Like
Yes.
now?
In your hearts. Yes, in your hearts. You're a family
Oh,
man. Like you are a you're a relationship man. You are a yeah, you're a family man. You are not, in my opinion. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but in my
mhm.
opinion, even now, you don't have a desire to be this lifelong bachelor and raise Almeida to up until she's 21 by yourself. Am I correct?
Oh man. Okay. I would say yes. Wait. How do I answer that? What? Here's the thing, and I think this is kind of when I talk about how like how things change over time. As more time goes on, you start to kind of forge the life that you're living, and then you say, okay, well, how do I maximize based on the hands that I have, my hand that I have right now? How do I make this
Mm-hmm.
work for me? Right. So
Right.
I I can say this. You're right in the sense that I had a very loving relationship. I had a productive one. It was one where the kind of where people say it like that doesn't exist. right? That kind. Um, so I don't, I'm not like, I'm not a person who doesn't think that relationships can't work for a man. Like a
Mm-hmm.
relationship with a woman can't work for a man. It absolutely can if it's with the right woman, you know. Now
Mm-hmm.
that being said, um, I haven't put any like I haven't put any uh I haven't put a like an emphasis or priority on it. Now I think about it quite often because Almeida's getting older. You know, she'll be 8 next month, and I see her just like quickly like growing into a like a you know a young woman. You know,
Mm-hmm.
much like how you'll hear brothers say, "Well, you know, sisters can't raise boys into men." I I I don't know the first thing about being a woman. You know, so it would be beneficial. Um, I would say to her, especially coming into this chapter of her life, that if there was a woman in the household that that could kind of guide her into womanhood, right? So I see where that's a like a like a need, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not. But then again, and this is where I'm conflicted with a lot of the stuff. But then at the same time, we do have to kind of look at reality for what it is as well.
Mm-hmm.
And things aren't the same. Things are
Right.
very much different, right? That's just the reality of it. So I'm not naive. I'm not naive. So I don't, I'm not going to hedge on anything that I don't have some sort of, I don't feel sure about. Like I only put money down on something where I feel sure about it. If I don't feel sure about it, if I'm hesitant, I won't really like take chances like that. And so, and relationships are one of those things that I don't take chances with, you know? So, I mean, if the right person comes along and, I would be a fool to say no, especially if it's the right person, because I've experienced what it's like having a person that like work that fits you. When you have a person that fits you, then you can do more with life. But I'm not gonna like subject myself to a lot of things unnecessarily, right? Just because the environment doesn't necessarily support what it is that I want or I'm looking for. So I just kind of at this point I kind of just kind of shrug my shoulders and you know, but I don't place any importance on it like that.
So now
You
I
know,
have this question for you. Is is there in enough room, shall I say, in your heart to receive someone else that
you said is there
that they don't have to walk in Rosetto's shadow?
um well I'm not looking for another Rosetta because that was her, right?
Uh-huh.
That was her. So I would have to find somebody that fits me. But again, if I'm in a kind of in a process of sort of like reinvention, well, I would whoever that person is becoming, then that other person needs to fit with that new me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be looking for something that works for the old Ulysses. Definitely no, I wouldn't be looking for something that fits the old Ulysses. I'd be looking for something that fits the new Ulysses.
All right. Well,
Hmm.
those are some very good answers. You have really answered all of the questions that I have for you and in very much good details. So I'm gonna go through the chat and see if besides the jokes with the comedians.
I didn't even see. I know Q's in there. I know he is. Yeah, let me look in the chat because I was in the StreamYard screen.
Yes, I'll let you look at the chat. If anyone if anyone has any questions at all for our guest, Complex Design, please feel free to type them in the chat and we will definitely address them. And while y'all get those questions together, if you have any, I'm going to play a track. All right. All right. So no one else had any questions in the chat. So I have a couple of more that I want to ask.
All right.
So talk to me about raising a daughter. What challenges did you encounter that were expected in raising a daughter? And what
Mm-hmm.
challenges did you encounter that you were not expecting?
Um, let's see here. Well, I I would say that I would because I've raised I have a lot of nephews, and a lot of them I was like active in their lives when they were young. So from just like her being a child, I didn't have too many expectations in terms of like, or things that would surprise me just from her being a child. I think the things that were unexpected are like her personality, her like her how she perceives things. You know, some of the thing her, you know, how some of the things that she'll say to me, you know, observations that she makes. You know, it's like, wow, you really are like a little person who sees the world, and you know, you're framing it and contextualizing it and trying to make sense of it. And so her and I have like conversations about things, and I'm just always I'm always in awe with, you know, some of the things that she says, and even like her observations about me. I mean, some of that shit is like it's kind of crushing. And you're like, damn, all right, all right, all right, you know. So so yeah, it's I just think, you know, you're always kind of kept in a state of wonderment, you know, being a parent.
Well, one thing I'm sure that maybe took you by surprise is the choice that you made to put her in a Montessori school and the way that she took on it and how fast she developed in doing it.
Yeah.
So talk to us about what led you to the decision to put her in Montessori school.
That was my wife. My wife was an educator. You know, she is from the south side of Chicago, so you know, she's a very intuitive type of person, right? Very em, empathet, em, empathetic person. I'm trying to get the word out. Um, and so she always had an idea of what it was that what would work best for kids. And so she was always like, when I have children, I want them to go to a Montessori school because of the learning environment. And so that was one of like the discussions that we had, you know, prior to her passing. Is just like, look, you know, please promise me that, you know, she's going to go here, because trust me, you know, she'll just be miles ahead if she does it. And that was like a promise I made to her. So I just did whatever I had to do to keep her in there, you know, until she graduated from kindergarten. So she was there from the age of 3 to the age of 6.
Okay. So now my question is, hold on. Okay. So my question is, what is your spiritual or religious belief, if any?
Oh wow. Um, I would say at this stage, um, I'm trying to hold on one second. It's loud over here. I'm walking through the backyard, so bear with me. Um, I would say at this stage, I am sort of like a practitioner of the school of nature. So now it's like I try to live and learn, you know, based on, you know, the inputs of my environment.
Uh-huh.
You know, I've kind of gone through it all. You know, when I was in music, when I was doing the music thing, I was, you know, heavy into like, you know, metaphysics and stuff, because you're dealing with vibrations and frequencies and tones when you're dealing with music, you know. So it's an actual um, it's an actual practice in magic in a lot of ways. You know, like I can make a song that has a certain tone or frequency, and you'll think of color. you know, and that's intentional. So there was a time when a lot of what I used to delve into would correspond with some of like the things that I would pursue from a creative standpoint. But nowadays, I find myself being more technical, more hands-on, right? Dealing with like numbers, like raw data, like things that aren't subject to, you know, any sort of open interpretation or intuitive um, type interpretations, but more or less like, you know, 2 and 2, 4 type scenarios, right? So, and it's cool because I see now I can kind of think 360, right? There's times when I can engage sort of like the quantum, if you will,
Mhm.
but not so much in that I can't focus on the mundane either, right? Like I don't have mastery of the mundane. So I would say at this point I'm just kind of like learning from nature at this point. Nowadays I'm like learning from birds. You know, I'm learning from a turtle that pops up randomly in the front of my house.
Okay. So now tell us about your music preferences.
Ooh, um, gosh, anything that sounds good. I like it all. I mean, I would say I have a more of a preference right about now. I think more like kind of like indie pop and indie rock, that type of stuff is kind of more it resonates more with me. I don't really deal with hip hop as much nowadays. I think from a vibratory standpoint, it kind of just doesn't. I can do it in small doses. Let's just put it like that. If it sounds good, but like electronic, some of the pop stuff that my daughter listens to is okay. You know,
Uh-huh.
that's kind of other thing that's kind of made me sort of expand my palette a little bit more. Is like listening to what she likes to listen to, because I can only listen to her station when we're in the car. So like, if I
You
have it on like a jazz station or something, it has to change when she gets in the car. So put it
know,
on my station. You can put
um,
it back on your station when you drop me off. When I get out of the car, you can put it back on yours.
a couple of more questions also about Almeida, and then we have a question or two by Jay Charles that we'll get to. So
Okay.
back to
Hey, what's
raising,
going on, Jay Charles?
yeah, he's here.
What's up,
Back to
Frank?
raising
That's so
a daughter,
hard. Yeah.
doing Almeida's hair.
Oh, oh my God.
Yes, talk to us about being a father and managing and learning about your African, your Black American daughters, the texture, the what kind of things, what challenges did you encounter there, and how did you overcome them?
Okay, as far as what challenges, everyone you can
Or
think of.
yes, with
Yeah,
doing hair.
everyone you can think of, I've encountered. And I have a friend, a good female friend of mine. Her daughter, my daughter are friends, and she's like always on my ass about how what I need to be doing with her hair. So I try to be on it as best I can. Right now, I have this really nice Nigerian lady who does her hair.
Uh-huh.
So I try to do things in between taking her over there to have her hair done. But what I've learned is that hair is a sensitive topic, especially for black girls.
Uh-huh.
I'm glad that now what I'm seeing is like with the younger black girls, like they're cool with wearing their hair. Um, I think it has more to do with a lot of the sisters, like in my age group, that still kind of carry this. this thing about their hair. I don't know, but I know it's a very important thing to them.
Mm-hmm.
So what I never wanted to do was like give my daughter any insecurities about her appearance, whether it be her skin or her hair. You know,
Yeah.
so she's always gotten nothing but reinforcement from me. Like when she, like, which doll do you like better, Daddy? I like, I'll point to the black one, and I said I like her skin. I like her skin better than the other ones. Because you have to reinforce it. Yeah, she's got to know that even her father, you know, thinks that what she most resembles is what's most preferable to him. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Um, so yeah, that's always been an issue. Especially even with my wife. Like again, being in education and stuff. She saw like all of these types of things that affected children. you know, Things that give them insecurities, and then they play out later on in life when, you see sisters walking around just doing things to themselves, and you're like, why would you do that? You know, it's because they were brought up to believe that those features that make them, you know, some of the most beautiful women on the planet were actually things that made them look the ugliest, and it's just unfortunately those types of things aren't true.
Right. What else do you do to reinforce her with her self-esteem boosting?
Um, well, I try to just get her, she's naturally a free spirited person. She's very carefree, you know. So I try to just get her to, just use that inquisitive nature for everything. And she's inquisitive about everything. It's like, and maybe she gets it from me, if something becomes of interest to her, then she'll pull it up on Google and then she'll start reciting off like a ton of facts about it to me, you know. So I encourage her to know whatever it is that she wants to know. Like she doesn't have to be limited to what she knows. So we instilled that in her early on, and so now it's kind of just like a natural thing because you cultivate their natural inquisitiveness, then they'll just know to do that. It'll be a part of how they acquire information. So I just I'm just supportive of her learning things, and then I'll have she'll want to tell me about something, like what was, oh man, I'm trying to remember. This was literally just like yesterday or the day before. I forgot what it was we were talking about. Uh, what were we talking about? I picked her up from cheerleading practice, and we were going to the store, and she brought up um okay, so I made some salmon like a week ago, maybe a
Uh-huh.
week or two ago. And so my dad was telling me that, there was a close by there was a rosemary bush, because I was gonna go get some rosemary. I went to the store and I forgot to get some rosemary, and so there was this bush out in front, and so I stopped by, and it had a very different leaf profile, but it smelled like rosemary. And I was like looking around, and I'm like, dude, where's the rosemary plant? Yes, babe. Hmm. See, that's what she's saying, how the rosemary plant is very different from the other ones that we've grown. So this one has like a very thin, flat leaf, and it's very floral, and it has a slightly different taste to it, but it's good. It's a
Uh-huh.
variant of rosemary I'd never seen, but she, she was just like that. You just heard her. Yeah, that rosemary plant is different than the other ones. you know. So when it comes to, that's her getting in my lap now. So yeah, I got this big old girl in my lap now. Um, so yeah, that it's just stuff like that. It's like it's okay to ask me questions. It's okay to talk about the difference in rosemary bushes, and you know, Yeah.
How did you adjust to, and how did it feel to work your job, have your hobbies, do the time and the dedication you have with the Black Brain Trust, develop a
Hmm.
business, and be the dad that takes his daughter to cheerleader practice, to school. You're like, you're literally, because you're literally like the head of the household. You're the cultivator, the provider, and the nurturer.
Hmm.
So how do you manage all these hats, and how does it feel managing all these hats? How does it feel being the dad at the children practice? And I
Well, I
have
mean,
another
I
question.
okay, okay. Well, let's answer that question. I guess because you know all along I was kind of supposed to play this part. The only difference is that Rosetta's no longer here. But head of household, dad and husband and provider and entrepreneur and all of that. Okay, yeah, that's sort of when you're the man of the house. Those are the hats you wear. So I don't expect. To me, it's because I seen my dad do it, and I saw my grandfather do it. I see my uncles do it. It's mostly males in my family.
Hmm.
So they all. I don't. There's not too many screw ups in my family. Most
Ah,
most of
okay.
the, most of the men in my family, they've lived productive lives. So just growing up, it was just kind of inherent that like, okay, you do what you got to do to take care of yourself and your family.
Got it. And with you being into race cars and things like that, do
Hmm.
you find yourself, know that you keep on Mita get in the car and her drive around and she's been getting her practice in there? Are there times like that where you're like, am I doing this like a girl, or am I doing this like the son that I want to have?
Wait, you broke up there. Can you repeat that question?
Yes, when you're doing Amita, like putting her behind her drive the race cars and things like that, do you think of yourself as doing it as a daughter, or do you sometimes find yourself doing it wishing that she was a boy, or waiting for, or wishing that you did have a son to do this with?
Oh, no, 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 no. I literally do it because she asked me to do it. Right? I never wanted to force her into anything that she doesn't. I don't want her to do things that don't align with her natural talents and interests. Right? So I'm not gonna tell her to do something if she doesn't want to do it or if she doesn't ask me to do it. So I wanted to put her in the cars. I wanted to start her. I mean, because I'll have to put the video up. I have some video of her when she was 4 driving an electric cart. So you know, I was and she was like she drove it perfectly. So I was kind of like, all right, she's a natural at this, right? And then a
Uh-huh.
couple of years go by, she gets big enough. Kids have to be 48 inch in order to do the junior carts indoors to do the electricals. And so this summer, as I predicted, she hit 48 inches, and I said, all right, you can go whenever you want. And then she was like, I want to go right. She's like, I want to get in the cart. And I'm like, okay, you want to get in the cart? She's like, yeah. I said, okay. And I said, all right, well then, because she wants to get a cart for Christmas, like a outdoor one, like the one you see there, and she wants to take it out to the track and drive it. She wants a suit, shoes, gloves, helmet. She wants it all. And I'm like, okay,
Oh,
well let's see if this is something that you really want to do. So I took her to the indoor track, And I mean, to my amazement, like the way she was driving, like driving the lines, I was like, oh my God, like you're doing this perfect. Like everybody that was indoors looking at it, they're like, we never seen a kid drive like this before, you know? And so, but I don't know. See, Almeida can do things and she'll do it really well, but not really think too much else about it and then move on to the next thing, right? So I don't know
Right.
if she really wants to do this, but if she asks me to, then yeah, sure. Now as far as like wishing that I could, kind of put her in sort of like a position where she's doing this competitively, and if I wish I had a boy, I'll tell you like this: there's a few kids that have gone on. I coached them up from indoor, and then I set them up in their first carts. These are some of my first customers. To race outdoor in competitive club venues. And some one of them has a year ago relocated to North Carolina. Now he races Legends race cars. Like they're like um, 1/3 scale. So they're like this is like a legit race car. So he started in cars. This is like the first kid I coached up, and now he's racing Legends. I got another kid who is he's still racing now. I think he's racing in the seniors divisions now. Um, and then there's if you guys want to look him up, he actually has a YouTube channel. His name's Christian Daniel Jr. and he races mini GP um, motorcycles in Spain. And so I was recruiting him for karting, but this kid's amazing on a bike. And so he's doing it at like the highest competitive level for his age group in Europe right now. It's a young black kid, man. So I've had my hands like involved with like a lot of like young males with regards to coaching them and developing them in racing. Um, I don't wish that on Almeida. I don't wish like
Hmm.
she was a boy and no, no, no.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good. So let's get to the question that we have by Jay Charles. So
Okay.
his first question is, how do you define leadership?
um. Okay. So basically, I think in a nutshell. So okay. So you have people who have positions where they have to go and seek an answer for a problem, right? And then there's the people who are responsible for coming up with the solution to the problem. Okay. So leadership, in short, are the people who are responsible for coming up with solutions to the problem. And anyone who exhibits those characteristics or qualities, um, I would define them as, natural born leaders.
Hmm.
You know, I never really walked away from that sort of like being that. I just think that it took a long time for me to learn how to do it right. You know, but yeah, I mean, just I think the people, so like if you have 10 people and so let's say like there's one problem and there's 10 people, and out of the 10 people, there's seven that are complaining about it, and then there's three that are thinking of a way to figure out a solution to it. Those three are
Hmm.
your leaders.
Okay. Now, what do you think are the keys to success in business?
Oh, oh, oh. Subject is near and dear to my heart. Um, my dad always says fair exchange is no robbery. Okay, so that means in relation to doing business, it's being equitable, right, and honoring your word, honoring your contracts, um, and doing good business in good faith. You it's very see there's like business. It's not. I'm not saying it's an easy thing, But there's just very basic things. If you just do the basic things, it'll take you a long way. One is just good ethics and good judgment. Some people in the manosphere say morals, more like what do they say? Morals aren't a real thing or whatever. And it's like, it's how you mitigate chaos in the markets, right? Do things ethically. If you do really truly do believe that we exist in things exist in abundance, then that means that there's enough for everyone,
Mhm.
right? So just do things the right way, and there's enough for everyone. Um, and yeah, just do business in good faith, and just have something unique, and that type of stuff. It'll take you a long way. But that's how it is. I really just think the business is largely just it's relationships. It's not. No, it's not really what a lot of people make. It can be. I'm not gonna doubt anyone's existence. If that's what business has always been to them, then that's how it's been. For me, it's always kind of been you know whether I could do business with you or not. Largely just based on we're just kind of like we're compatible, right? Business wise. That's why I was saying. I had to learn a lot. You know, so that's about it as far as for like success in business.
Do you have a personal mantra that you live by?
Wait, say that again.
Do you have a personal mantra that you live by?
Do I have a personal mantra that I live by? Oh man. Uh, yeah. I mean, I guess like the whole sort of fair exchange is no robbery type of thing. I'm like a golden rule type of person.
Okay.
So I try to like I said, I know it kind of runs, it kind of runs counter to the name complex design, but certain things, man, you try to keep it real simple, so you don't just kind of like create conundrums for yourself. Is it right or wrong if I do this? It's just like, dude, if you have to ask the question, right? If you have to ask the question, then most likely you shouldn't do it.
My last question for the evening is, what is the main thing you would want people to take away from this interview about complex design?
Oh, um, you know, I've heard that people think I've said some strong things about women, right? And so allow me to clarify my position for just a second.
You broke up.
Oh,
Strong things about.
about like about women.
Okay.
Now, allow me to just clarify some things. Did I say anything about women during this whole entire interview?
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay. So, um, if you hear any strong opinions from me about women, it would be relatable to whatever conversation and the context that you hear it in. Okay, I just want to put this on the record. It's going to be in the context of the conversation that you're hearing me have. Okay.
Okay.
Um, so if I know that from a socio-political standpoint, um, we're not working together the way we should be, and if we can recognize that our certain people within our collective are in positions to make policy changes and things like that, um, and if you observe from their positions like what it is that they've actually done to do these things, and if they show that they haven't, then they've largely run on false pretenses, unless they viewed you as not being someone that they viewed as a part of their constituency. So if you hear me say some strong statements that run juxtaposed to to that whole narrative right there, it has to do with the fact that you have to meet you have to meet uh, force with an equal amount of force. And see, and we're not talking about anything of a violent nature or anything like that, but we are talking about an assertion of our own abilities to exercise the political process to our advantage and to our gain and to our benefit. You know, you see, so um, when I say when I say something to the effect of black female politicians should be bought, okay, that's not to be taken as some sort of slanderous statement. It's to be taken as a very real proposition because a whole bunch of interest groups buy politicians all the time. It's called lobbying. So just for the record, just for clarification, it's like trust and believe. Like there's context to when I say something like that. It's a very real political proposition that I think black men collectively should really take a serious look at. It doesn't,
Okay.
yeah, it doesn't mean that I personally have something against sisters. No.
Right.
Yeah.
I get it. So you all heard it right over here. You know that complex design does not have a vitriol or deep hatred for the American black woman. Okay. Keep everything in the context of the discussion,
Please.
and the confusion and chaos will be kept down or diminished.
Yes.
And if there's ever any doubt or any questions, you can definitely have a conversation. I know this from experience that you can have a conversation with complex design, and he is all too willing
Yeah.
to make sure there's clarity. So this has been Womb Conversations with none other than Complex Design, again, a member, an active primary member of the Black Brain Trust.
And Rainy
So
Woman,
thank
real quick before we
yeah,
finish, I also want to shout you out and just thank you for what you do for us. Just promoting, our group, promoting our our cause, promoting us and what we're trying to do. So, like, in all, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. We all do. So, thank you for everything that you do for us.
thank you for that acknowledgement. I really appreciate that, and you're welcome. So you all can definitely see more of complex design over at the Black Brain Trust. He also has his own personal channel that he is very modest about, as we discussed, which is Complex Design. I will have the links also in the comment section after the video is complete. And also Business, Wealth, and Power. And what else?
And the brain trust, and that's pretty much it.
Yes, and
Oh,
of course,
and check out, please, 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 if you haven't, please follow Lionel's Fool with Money channel.
yeah.
Um, I really like what he's doing there. It's a real cool thing that he's doing. Um, yeah, the Fool with Money channel. Please check out Lionel's channel and subscribe to it.
Look at that. Even during his own interview, he is sharing his space with his counterparts. So his cohorts. So yes, Full with Money with Lionel, and I'll also have that link as well in the comment section. That is a wrap. So this is Womb Conversations with Reigning Womban and Complex Design. We're gonna go out with the music track. I want to thank everyone. Thank you for 97, Jay Charles, Otho Williams, Miss Mahogany Roots and MJ. Let's see, Jack Spade. Naima came through. Thank you. Little Rock and Ova. And there was CC, Tyrone, and Miss Chantel. If you catch the replay of this, we want to thank you as well for catching the replay and allowing us into your space, into your energy. Complex Design, I want to say to you before we go into our music break and end that it has been a delight to have you over here as usual. And I wish you nothing but more progressive success. And I look forward to seeing and hearing more of your growth as well as a meetup. Thank you for sharing your time with me.
Thank you.